Hello, hello, everyone. We are so excited to have two special guests with us today. First of all, before we have them introduce themselves, I am Cassandra Quinn, and I am on the leadership team of Chicago Chapter of Conscious Capitalism. And that is why I'm here today, is to speak with two special guests who are going to be coming to Chicago for part of their tour. And I'll let them introduce themselves now. I'll throw it to Dr. Neha. Would you introduce yourself first?
Sure. So my full name, which I realize is not on the screen, is Neha Sangwan. Um, a lot of times people want to call me Dr. Sangwan, but I just prefer you call me Neha. Um, I am an engineer, a physician, an author, an executive coach who has co-founded the Conscious Business Leadership Academy with Raj Sisodia, also on the screen. I combine the science of medicine with the art of communication to help leaders be able to handle the interpersonal conflict, burnout, mental health, lots of the challenges that they face in their workplace. And so Raj and I partner to teach CEOs and executive leaders how to elevate their leadership. So we've got lots of challenges coming in our world today. And what we want to do is give you powerful and practical tools to help you solve those, not just band-aid them, but actually get to the root cause and solve them. And as a little side note, my second book, Powered by Me, From Burned Out to Fully Charged at Work and in Life, launches tomorrow. So I'm really excited about that. If burnout is something, mental health, if it's something in your world for you or for those you love and lead, please check it out. It's called Powered by Me.
Love it. Thank you, Neha. And I know that she did a little bit of springboard into introducing you to Raj, but I'll throw it to you just to share a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, hi everybody. I'm Raj Sisodia. I'm a professor of business currently at Technologico de Monterrey in Mexico. I just started that role a couple of years ago. I'm also one of the co-founders of Conscious Capitalism, which is a movement that you all are familiar with, being on the Conscious Capitalism Chicago leadership team, Cassandra, but something that we started 15 years ago to change the narrative around business, to make business not just about the head and the wallet, but actually to bring in the heart and the spirit of human beings into business. And so that's really my passion and my purpose, starting about 15, almost 20 years ago, actually, when I started working on a book that became Firms of Endearment, that then led to Conscious Capitalism. So that's really my journey now. And the latest book is called Awaken, which is the book that Neha and I are on tour with. Her book, Powered by Me, and my book, Awaken, The Path to Purpose, Inner Peace, and Healing. And this is, for the first time, an exploration of my own life. I've never written about myself before, but looking at how I got here and what are some of the universal lessons that can be extracted. These are milestones for every human life. I think purpose, achieving, finding your purpose, achieving inner peace, and of course, healing. We all need healing. And how do we recognize that, and how do we actually do that, and what lies on the other side of that is really what this book is about.
I love it. And I think that what's really cool and what I'm excited about with you coming and spending time with us in person here in Chicago is I think that both of these books and the concepts that you both are talking about and bringing to the table for conversations with people right now is that there is a personalization that I think sometimes we separate ourselves and kind of categorize. Okay, here's my business life, here's my personal life. And it's really like we're just human and we have to bring our whole selves into this this space, whether we're working or no matter what. And then but it also does the kind of opposite where we're talking about things that we think sometimes that's very deeply personal, like burnout, like overwhelm, but thinking about it on a global or on a organizational level. So I'm curious if you can just expand a little bit on those kind of extremes of like bringing the very personal into business and bringing the business into the personal. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think COVID gave us a good glimpse into that. One day we were in air-conditioned offices all together in cubicles, and the next day we were Zooming in half-dressed, from our bedroom. And so I think the world got a master class in breaking down of those boundaries. And we saw, little kids and animals and pets on Zoom calls, right? So I think we've already started this dismantling process of a way that we kept emotions out of the workplace. Now, I think it's a really good thing because emotions are driving everything. They drive our engagement, our motivation, innovation. They drive so many aspects that leaders are struggling to figure out. And now we have to figure out how to navigate our emotions rather than suppress them. Mm-hmm. And it's time that we start using them for the superpower that they are. And I think sometimes that scares people. But what Raj and I have done is done the lean in our own lives and with thousands and thousands of leaders. And we've really figured out some practical ways to help navigate that. And so how I would think about this, I'm going to start with a quick framework. Me, we, world. So any complicated, I'm an engineer, so I want root cause solving. You're an engineer too, Raj. He's drinking his celery juice. I'll be doing that in a minute. But root cause solving is really important. When you're band-aiding things or kicking things down the road, it just costs everyone more time, more energy. So there's something called me, we, world. When you have a complicated issue like burnout, you want to think about it on an individual level, your personal life included. You want to think about it on a we level, which is the environment in which we exist, work, live. And then you want to think about it in a global, the system, the company, the world. All three of these are all playing together. So we have to expand our perspective in order to really understand this. So when I burned out, I burned out 20 years ago in the hospital, and there were me, we world was at play. So there was my own people pleasing nature where I'd say yes to taking on any shift, even if I was exhausted. There was a way in which I would nourish myself with Mountain Dews and Snickers bars and whatever I would grab energy wherever I could take it. Now that's the me piece of it. Yeah. I was in an environment that had bullying, it was a toxic, dysfunctional environment. So that was the we. And then on the world level, I was in a system that chronically understaffed people, didn't have a backup schedule in case things went wrong. So everything became an emergency. So when you start thinking about things, you start to see, oh no, it's not my fault that I burn out or I'm struggling, but I do play a role in it. And that's the framework of me, we, world, where when you're looking at anything, make sure you take an expanded perspective to understand how everything plays together.
Definitely. And I think that realizing that wherever we are in that ecosystem of the work that we're doing, sometimes we have just control over ourselves. And I shouldn't say just, we obviously have impact no matter what we do. But some of us have the privilege and responsibility of being in leadership positions where our choices for how we're taking care of ourselves and those around us have much more are larger ripple effects and sometimes quicker ripple effects. Can you speak to how, when we're thinking about everybody matters, everybody wins, how do we think about that when we're making choices, when we know that we have more impact as leaders, but then also maybe those times where we don't feel like we have a lot of impact or power and all we can control is ourselves? So really kind of the dichotomy of individual impact and group impact.
Raj, do you want to take that one?
Well, yeah, I think it all starts with the leaders in organizations. As I said, you cannot have a healing organization without a healing leader, right? And then the macrocosm is a reflection of the microcosm. So unless we work on our own healing, and that has multiple aspects to it, it also means wholeness, which is integrating the masculine and feminine, but also means healing our wounds and traumas. Unless we work on those things, we are going to then inflict unnecessary suffering on others. And that we become the source of suffering. And this is one of my big realizations about business, is that the way we have traditionally done it has caused a lot of unnecessary suffering. Neha writes about burnout. There's that, of course, there's heart attacks on Monday mornings. There's 600,000 Chinese dying from overwork. All of those are manifestations of extreme suffering. There's what we're doing to the planet, what we're doing to other species, what we're doing to the health of our customers, etc. We're just spreading a lot of suffering in the process of trying to make money for this entity that we lead. And it doesn't have to be that way. That if we do it right in the right way, that we can actually be a source of healing. We can reduce that suffering and we can bring more joy into the world. So, but it all starts with the leaders. It has to start with healing yourself. And in a way, my own journey mirrored that because I wrote the healing organization, but four women, friends of mine, told me the same thing. How can you write a book about healing if you're not working on your own healing? I said, well, I don't have time for that. I have a book deadline. Unfortunately, I listened to them and I delayed my book by 5 months. And I went through a very conscious journey of trying to understand my own life and to examine what needs healing and to look at various modalities for that. And I think that's the kind of journey that all of us need to be on. But most business leaders, most leaders in general, never do that kind of inner work, and they never go on that journey of self-awareness, self-knowledge, self-love, etc., in order to get to that place of being a truly healing leader who can make a positive impact on the lives of everybody that they touch.
So, Raj, I want to be really clear for the listeners that it's not just heart attacks on Monday morning. It's literally that heart attacks are 20% higher at 4 a.m. on Monday morning. And that's a real telling sign as a doctor. It's like, wow, stress causes or exacerbates more than 80% of all illness. And if that's the case, we better start getting to the root of what's at the root of our stress. The other thing, as you were speaking about leaders, what I really want to say is I think we're at a turning point. We're at a turning point where it used to be that a company would call us in and we would start at the CEO, work with the executive team, and then do what I call gravity rounds and just keep going to the next level of leadership. I actually think that the companies that are going to do well now are the ones that actually equip their entire workforce with the skills of agility, self-trust, ability to pivot, be flexible, innovate. We now need to tap into something much bigger than just leadership, which is every person in your organization, every individual is a leader. And we must equip them with a common language, with the ability to know how to lean into conflict, we're in a world that's too overwhelming. And so if we leave anybody behind, they're not going to be able to contribute in our company in a way that we need them to, and to society. And you're exactly right that people have 100% of their energy. So the question becomes, if they're draining energy at home, does that affect their work? And if they're being depleted at work, does that affect how they treat their families at home? Of course it does. So we have to care about humans. And then for the places where you don't have as much control, you asked a question around that. What I'd say is you always have the choice of how you react to something. So react versus respond. Mm-hmm. And the idea of whether you get triggered and have a huge out of proportion reaction, that's called an amygdala hijack, where literally our brain, our biology kind of hijacks us and has us be pretty startled, has us yell in a meeting, has us act in ways that even surprise us. And so we can also self-manage. Take a deep breath, recognize our body's unique language and physical signals that it's giving us. Let's say we're in a meeting and somebody takes credit for something that we've done. Right away, there's a whole series of physical contractions, heaviness, signs that come in your body. And the question is, are you listening? Do you know what's happening? And can you self-manage in order to respond rather than react? So there's a lot we can do as individuals, whether we have leadership positions or not. We now need to be thinking of the collective as well. So it goes back to me, we world. We need to be holding that perspective in every decision that we make, so everybody matters and everybody wins.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you. I think that both of those perspectives are so valuable. It is, we're coming at these issues from all angles. So yes, it's the leadership and them taking responsibility for their own healing, their own consciousness, but recognizing, like you said, Neha, that we are all self-leaders and that we have the ability to have an impact on our own lives as well as those around us, and that collective, like you said. So I'm really excited. I know that we don't have a lot of time left together, so I want to make sure that we talk about your tour that you're on. So that launched earlier this month, and you've been out visiting with people all over the country. Tell us a little bit about how that's been going so far.
Well, we kicked it off on the West Coast and had the Energize and Awaken Tour started in Silicon Valley and San Francisco. It's gone to Cincinnati. We just got back from Vermont. We are heading, we're doing a virtual book launch party tomorrow at 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, so 1 to 3 p.m. Central, where we're going to be streaming live online, answering questions, all of that. And then we're heading to Minneapolis and to Chicago this week. I will be on the Today Show September 27th in the 9 a.m. hour. So we've got a lot of exciting events coming. And if anybody here is watching and is like, oh, I'm not going to be in Chicago this week or whatever it is, please go to intuitiveintelligenceinc.com/events. And if you go just to the main website, intuitiveintelligenceinc.com, there's a tour tab that you can go on and you can register for our events all over the country.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure to get that link in the comments of the different places that this is streaming so that people can easily find that as well. What has you most excited about this tour? Why this tour? Why now? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think it's the opportunity to connect to people who are part of the Conscious Capitalism community. As you know, we're doing a lot of this with the Conscious Capitalism chapters. And it's an opportunity also to normally, when we have books, etc., it's all about the business, but this is really about you, the leader, the individual, and working on yourself, and all of us experience some degree of burnout, and all of us have these other challenges as well. So I feel like it's going to be a very personal set of experiences and exchanges that we're going to have with the community around the country. So I'm really looking forward to that.
So I'm going to take a me, we, world approach. For me, it's really exciting to get to sign books, get to connect to humans, hear what they're struggling with, and hopefully direct them to the practical tools that can heal them. The we comes on multiple levels. I get to do it with Raj. We get to do this together. We get to travel. It's almost like we've done all this hard work of writing these books and consolidating all this information, and we get to share it with the world together. So looking forward to meeting people. And then I think it's about raising mass consciousness. It's about elevating each of us so that we can live in a world that's moving faster and faster by the day. And it feels really meaningful to be able to be a part of helping people do that.
I love it. And who should come join us for these in-person events? And what are you hoping that the people will gain from coming and joining us in person?
Really, anyone. Go ahead, Raj.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. I mean, you don't have to be a CEO or a leader. Of course, that's great. But it can be students, it can be consultants, it can be middle managers, anybody really, because these are universal lessons and learnings that we're trying to share here. So yeah. I believe it'll be beneficial for anybody.
Anyone who really thinks that they'd like to become more resourceful, more resilient in a world that's moving faster and faster. You could be a single parent. You could be, somebody who's struggling with aging parents and maybe has children, maybe someone who's in a transition of job or relationship and is ready to understand how to get to the root of your stress or assess, because we really give such practical tools. The way I say it is Powered by Me is about going from on the spectrum of burned out to fully charged. We're going to teach you how to figure out where you're having a net gain or a net drain of energy on a physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual level. What that is right now, today, would be different than 5 years ago or 5 weeks from now. And so we want to give you these universal tools, these ways that you can navigate the world much more effectively. So I'd say it's really for anyone who's experiencing stress, anyone that's experiencing the level of change that I know I am, and would like to be more resilient, more resourceful. We'd love to see you in Chicago.
I love it. And we're so fortunate that we get to spend a couple of days with you. I know on Thursday night, we are going to have our mix and mingle cocktail hour so that people can mingle with those value aligned, like-minded people and get to spend a little bit of time with you as well before we sit down and have a more formal chat. I am excited to hear those ideas that you're going to share and help empower our audience that's going to join us. And then the next morning, we are going to be having our CEO leadership breakfast, where we're really focused on that C-suite. How can we make sure that we're working on that inner healing for our individuals, but also bringing it into our organization? So I'm really excited that we get to have both of those events with you. We're doing that in partnership Thursday night with Loyola, with the Baumart Center. And what's really exciting too for both of those events is that we're looping in their MBA scholars. So like you said, it's really for everyone and making sure that we are expanding that consciousness and the conversations around it. So I'm excited that we get to spend all of that time with you on Thursday and Friday. I know you have a lot going on this week before you're here in Chicago with us. So I want to make sure that we wrap up, but I am so glad that we get to spend this time with you today. One last question. If people are not able to join us, whether it's in Chicago or somewhere else along your tour, how else can people really get plugged in to this conversation and get involved if they're not able to join you somewhere along your tour?
Well, I'd say all our events, all of that is on the intuitiveintelligenceinc.com. And Raj, your website?
It's rajsisodia.com. And so you'll find lots of videos and podcasts and all kinds of information about my work.
Yeah, you'll find us all over social media. And like I said, tomorrow is a virtual launch party that you can just join it'll be live streaming on Facebook at Neha Sangwan MD, LinkedIn at Neha Sangwan MD. So you'll get a couple hours of us there. And we'd love to answer your questions and hear what's going on for you.
I love it. And those who are joining us in Chicago, another exciting part of it is you're going to get some personalized signed books. So with our book launch happening just tomorrow, and then we get to see you a couple days later, that's super exciting that we get to be among the first to get copies of that. And I love that no matter where people are in the world, there are those opportunities to connect with you virtually. So thank you so much for your time. And again, we can't wait to see you in Chicago. We'll make sure the links for your tour are in the comments, as well as those who might be able to join us in Chicago. We'll get those links so that you can get those tickets, because there's still spots available both for our Thursday night and our Friday morning events. So,
and where would they sign up? I know on my website, on the intuitiveintelligenceinc.com website, it's on the tour, it's on the tour tab. Where else would they be able to sign up?
Yes. So if they go to consciouscapitalismchicago.org, then they're going to be able to go across the top. There is the events and programs and the Chicago chapter events. And on that page, you'll be able to find information both for our Thursday night event as well as our Friday morning, as well as our upcoming events for the rest of the year. So that's where they would be able to find information and be able to buy those tickets directly from the Chicago Conscious Capitalism Chapter. Great.
Awesome. Can't wait to meet you guys.
See you soon. Bye.
Yeah, bye.